So I want to dedicate this interview to our fallen soldier, Ali Ely, and
Early, yeah, Ali Early.
Early, Ali Early, and my deepest condolences to his family. We both have worked with him in our professions, and it's a shock, it's a shock. And when I learned yesterday, um, I saw the picture posted on your Instagram, but I didn't know what that had meant
Yeah.
until you gave me explained. Uh, so yeah, it is something that was unexpected, and obviously he was a journalist like you and I. He's been dedicated to his profession for many years,
Hmm.
and he's contributed to some really big stories
Yeah.
as well as yourself. Um, and I just want to give people tell people. I want you to tell people a little about your background. Not only, I'll just give a brief introduction. You are the editor for Rolling Out Magazine. You've worked with other major publications, but more importantly, you have a great knowledge of media as well as media training. And when I say media training, you prepare people to get in front of the camera. And you and I have did a couple of media training
Yeah.
classes together.
Yeah.
So, and the reason why I say that is because we're going to talk about media training, and we're going to bring it full circle and how a certain uh, video had showed up on the internet where someone was, I guess, releasing a statement, and we'll bring that name in shortly, but not right now. So, Crystal, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. We've known each other for a long time, and I've worked with you, number one, as a publicist, working with doing media training for artists, and you've always been that hard-hitting journalist that I've met since I moved here, but not just in the city of Atlanta, but across the country. But I also want to take another second to kind of honor Ali, like you mentioned. We're talking about journalism, and I think especially in the facet of music journalism, I don't think you could have met a more solid person. I met Ali in 2005. His bylines, speak for themselves, from The Source to Double XL. He was senior editor for Rolling Out. He and I worked together for over 15 years. But most importantly, he's just an amazing family man, husband, father, and friend, and definitely entertainment community lost a real one. Very few that had the integrity and the true journalism talent of N. Ali Early. So I'm still grieving, and I'm sure people will be for a while, but his words will live on because we have so many pieces written by him. But as you mentioned, I actually started as a journalist years ago. Went to school of journalism for the University of Oklahoma with a concentration in PR, which actually served me really well because I ended up really focusing on public relations. And as you know, public relations and media go hand in hand, because as a publicist, we represent clients, getting them prepared for interviews. And I definitely try to get my clients prepared for interviews with you. Because when you get a real journalist who knows how to ask the right questions and pull the right story, you really want to make sure your client is prepared for that. And so I've I've enjoyed working with you, over the years doing that. But my company, Enchanted Branding and Public Relations, have represented a lot of artists and talent, musicians, actors, authors, different people over the years. And just recently, I decided to go back to my journalism roots. And so that's how you see me here as relationships editor for Rolling Out. I do a lot of conversations on celebrities and, the lifestyle, relationships, and things like that. So this particular case that we're going to be talking about is one that I think is really it's going to set a precedent, and it's going to keep conversations going for a while, because we talk about the difference between journalists and actual fact checking and all these things that we don't always see happen. And this is a great case study of what happens when those guidelines are not followed.
One thing you forgot is that you have a book,
I have several books. I have actually,
several books.
yeah, this is what
Yeah.
that's my first novel behind me, Under the Cherry Moon. And I also have How to Win When SHIT Happens, that came out
Wow.
couple of years ago, and I actually have another one that is set to drop this summer. So thank you for mentioning that. Yep.
So, we are in very good company today. And my next guest, I'm gonna bring up on the stage. He needs no introduction, but he might need a little introduction if people are not following his work. That's all over the place. I've worked alongside him. He's worked. He's actually wrote articles for Hip Hop Inquirer as well, but he's wrote for the Billboard. He's an awesome guy, and he's also a college professor. I'm just going to bring him on the stage, ladies and gentlemen. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Christopher Daniel.
Hey.
Hey, Chris.
I'm with family today. How's everybody?
Oh my goodness. Oh man. Okay, let me get myself in that frame here. So, Chris, I'm just going to go into it. Just give people a brief understand your background and how long you've been in media and in education.
Oh, sure. So I'm originally from Spartanburg, South Carolina. Been in Atlanta since 2007. And I originally came to Georgia in 2005 because I was recruited to go for my master's program at the University of Georgia to the Grady College of Journalism and Mass Communication. But before that, I was an undergraduate student at Johnson C. Smith University in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I received my undergraduate degree in journalism and graphic design. And, fast forward so many years later, which is actually how I met everybody on here, 2007, 2008, that whole social media frenzy was really starting to kick around that time. So this was, MySpace, and then Twitter comes, and you fast forward and you get to Instagram. But, luckily for me, the internet was actually the reason why I was able to do so much work, because having that print background, but having to transition over into digital, it just really worked. So, managed to get a lot of work on the Washington Post, and did some stuff with Billboard, did a lot of stuff with Vogue, and did some stuff with, Architectural Digest, and write for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and doing a lot of really, really awesome stuff, CBS News, and just really NBC. So making sure we tell stories about us. And I'm really passionate about the lifestyle and the entertainment community, but really finding the nuances across other areas. So history is one, and architecture is another, and our food culture is another. And of course, our music, film, television, dance, performance art. But of course, all of that stuff led to me being able to start teaching at Georgia State University around 2015, where I was, a visiting professor in the journalism communication department. So, and it was cool because Crystal was actually one of my panelists on a women in music journalism panel that I did that really packed the house and really just had some really interesting issues on the table, but was really able to take that and finesse it over into Clark Atlanta, which is where I've been for the last 5 years. And fast forward recently, Morehouse College now has a journalism major. So I'm adjunct there also for the arts, culture, and entertainment track. So it's funny that we're having this conversation just because it's timely, given that this is a whole new program and trying to get standards off the ground and just showing people that, these things do matter when you're telling stories and when you're considering celebrity engagement and really looking at news and social media and the integration of facts and what qualifies as opinion and just really making sure the credibility stands. So I'm actually happy to be here with both of you to talk about this.
Absolutely. And let's just get right into it. Did you have an opportunity to follow the story that I was covering involving Cardi B versus Tasha K? Or I won't say versus Tasha K, Cardi B suing Tasha K for defamation. Let's make sure we're clear on that.
Well, as a journalist and as a journalism professor, looking at a multitude of sources and being able to see how all the reports really just kind of come together. So it's just really fascinating, just looking at this whole, and all of us have had this conversation before, just really looking at the whole monetization of the content and, really being able to understand, where do you draw the line between taking good money and doing the right thing versus taking bad money and just raising your profile and getting those clicks and getting those likes. And it's just really interesting when you're looking at this from the perspective of someone who's really probably one of the biggest performers and entertainers across any area of entertainment. And just really being able to see kind of what was really the motive behind this particular celebrity blogger And why was she targeting this particular person? I mean, look at all of the public figures that really are out front. You know, you have your Beyoncé's of the world and your Jennifer Hudson's. Not to say that these are people that she should target, but I'm always curious to know why precisely did she pick this one particular human being. So I don't know if we'll ever.
All right. Good evening, everybody. So that is a show I did a couple of months ago, and I'm glad those. I haven't tweeted this out, so that's why the numbers are low, and I'm on a late night. But I'm testing out my microphone. Put a 1 in the chat right now if the sound is good, and then check in. Let me know who's out there. Check in. Put a 1 in the chat. Let me know who's out there. If you can hear the quality and the sound, and if it sounds good, let me know. Just purchase a new microphone this evening. Shout out to Guitar Center for showing me some of the quality mics, and I just wanted to see if it sounds better than the previous mic. If not, this goes back, and I'm going back to the old mic. So put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Who next? Who next? She picked Cardi because she didn't think she would be sued. Yeah, you know something. And that is accurate. Who's next? She was a big target, and it might have worked for her short term. I don't know if it's going to work for a long term, because if you look at the fallout that has happened after the trial, you can see that there's so much going on with moving money and just, you know, it's just ridiculous. But I appreciate that response. Who's next? Now, let me ask you a question since you are listening. How is the sound quality? Just like give me your honest opinion. Does it sound good enough? What should I do to make it better? Just let me know. And good evening for all those that are joining in. I was just talking to Who's Next, and had a. As a matter of fact, why don't we do this? Let's put this here. I don't know why I hear feedback, but we'll figure it out. So she's accurate. She picked Cardi because Cardi is a big target, and it just made sense for her to use her as the best person. And R. Kelly too. R. Kelly was a target, and I guess she felt like she did well with R. Kelly. She can do even better with Cardi B. Well, this is just my opinion. Anyway, so we're right now. What you're looking at right now is two people that were on my show, Crystal Jordan and Christopher Daniel. Both are well-known journalists and have been journalists for many years, and I've had the opportunity to work with both of them in my capacity as a journalist and member of the press. So what we're doing now is kind of putting this on replay and looking at some of the interview. I'm not going to play the entire interview, but it will be available at a later date so you guys can kind of sort it out. And before I go any further, today Roland Martin was on the Breakfast Club, and it was a very good show. And I really commend the guys over there and Angela Yee for bringing him on, because he kind of brought it home for us journalists, in that, you know, it is important, you know, for us to do the homework, do the research, and make sure we are not contributing to promoting lies that occur on the internet. Because there's a lot of that going on right now. It's a lot of people that are monetizing lies and not really interested in the truth. They feel that it's easier to promote a lie where they can monetize it and feel like there's no repercussions, but ultimately there can be repercussions, because you know how they say that some things will come back and bite you later on. So with that said, let's just listen to a few more minutes of this great panel of guests that I have on. Let's go.
get to that point, but just really looking at this whole conversation around YouTube and what does it mean at this point to really be a credible source, and why do we tell these stories, or why do we get to this instance of spreading these sort of lies, and how does that constitute as truth in this era of Trump and misinformation and fake news? So it's a really interesting moment to really juggle all of these tensions that are going back and forth and trying to make sense of it. But to answer your question, then, is yes, I've definitely seen your story and the TMZ reports, and going back and looking at the Think piece that was on NBC News, which was really profound by a sociology professor from Western University. So really studying the law and then thinking back to moments when I was actually in my common law classes and just really trying to make sure that we don't commit the same mistakes that we just saw over the last couple of years. So it's here. So let's make it work and try to figure out how do we get this to a point where integrity matters again, and credit matters again, and facts matter again, and respecting people's privacy matters, and being able to just make sure, you know, people's health and their children and their families are not up for grabs in the midst of you targeting this person. So it's just a really interesting moment to really unpack all of this.
So think about what he just said, and think about the people who have ignored the obvious. And the obvious is that when you spread lies and you delve into people's personal lives, you can create unnecessary trauma for someone else just for a buck. And you know, I'm not going into any particular person's any one particular person, because it's so prevalent on YouTube right now that it needs some type of oversight. You know, there need to be some serious guardrails put in place, and not just to have the rules in place, but to enforce those rules so it can be a more pleasant place. And I don't know if I'm at a point to right now to believe that people are comfortable with this current status quo. Well, we'll see. I don't know. We'll just have to see.
You know, I talked about this. Chris, you have something to say?
Well, no, I was going to say, I agree. And it's really good to see, like I said, it feels like family today, but I agree so much with what Chris said. But also, I think as a publicist for years, I think people forget we start to look at celebrities as commodities. And this is a great example of, you know, someone looking at a celebrity, not as a person, but as someone to help them make their business bigger. And I think that, you know, you asked the question, why Cardi B? I think that there have always been people that have done this to celebrities. I just think that Cardi B is, she's always been so authentic. I was talking on Black News Channel yesterday, and I was like, she's one of those rare celebrities that really has made her grit has been, you know, her rise to fame has been based in authenticity.
Correct.
And for her to actually say, I'm not going to take this. I've worked with, you know, celebrities for years. And I remember, you know, there have been different outlets that would publish stories that weren't necessarily true. You all remember Media Takeout years ago. There were constantly celebrities saying stories were not true, but no one would take it to that extent, because I think a lot of times celebrities get so used to being lied on, they take it. But kudos to Cardi B for saying, you know what, I'm not going to take this. I am a person just like you all. I'm not, you know, I'm not a commodity. I actually am a mother, a daughter, a wife, and a sister, and this hurts me. And so she allowed us to really see the human side. So kudos to her. I think that's the difference with this case. I do think it's been done before, but I think because she actually is a celebrity that has always been so upfront and honest, and she, you know, she continued, which is why she continues to stay on top. But I think this is something that has been happening for a long time that we've seen. And this case is the first one where the celebrity was just like, I'm fighting back. Yes, I'm successful, but I'm still a person and I'm going to fight back.
You know what I noticed covering this trial, when Cardi was giving testimony, I think she might have used profanity twice, and the jury didn't react to it because it was just like, you know, that's how Cardi is.
It's on brand.
Right, that's her brand. And she looked at the judge and said, "Oh, sorry," you know, apologized to the judge. But I just thought that was pretty powerful because the jury didn't react because they just know this is Cardi, you know, those who knew her, you know. some said they didn't know her, but I'm sure if they have kids and they talk to the kids about Cardi after a day of trial,
Sure.
something may have happened,
Yeah.
But in any event, Chris, talk about how important it is when you're researching a story and you have most of the information. Most of the information you may have 10% missing. What do you do with a story like that? You have 10% that's missing to make that story 100% credible. What would you do with a story like that?
I mean, you have to just weigh every stone that you have. And, one of the things that I tell people is don't leave no stone unturned when it comes to really unpacking certain things and reporting on certain stuff. So even if it means, going through the Instagram threads once or twice, one more time, just to make sure you didn't miss anything, or, calling the attorneys or calling, the police precincts just to make sure certain reports were filed and stuff is documented. Because obviously public record, we can just rip this stuff and just go through and comb and try to find it. But I'm always the person to say, figure out what is the problem that you're trying to solve here, or what is that one little gap that you cannot find, and physically just try to go in as much as you can. And if it's something that I know I personally cannot find and I've dug and dug and dug, just so there's no misinformation, I'll just intentionally leave it on the table until I can find it. Or if there's a situation where it's a series or I'm working with an editor, then we'll just leave the comment at the end to say, this story is still being reported on, we're still unpacking. And as we're still going through the motions trying to find it, then we'll update accordingly. Or if we have to run another series or run something to back that up, then that's just what we have to do. But I'm always the type of person to say, give the audience the most important and the most vital information that you have, and everything else that's there that you're trying to find, just, keep them abreast, whether it's through your Twitter account or, just making sure that people know that this story is still unraveling and you're still doing your part as like the source. But just leaving stuff out there and just making up stuff and filling in blanks, no, we're just not going to do that. And I definitely encourage my students to never take that risk, because this is literally like a gamble. It's a dice roll, right? Your name and just your credit in that byline is that one thing that keeps you working and keeps you in these spaces and keeps us having these dialogues. But for us to be able to get to that point, we have to really be able to use some sort of a gauge to where we understand, like, if this is the real, yes, let's use this. And if it's stuff that we still have to find, tap as many sources as we can until we get there.
So there is a lot that goes into researching a story. And shout out to those who are on the midnight shift listening to this show that I did previously. Now, just think about the people you get your quote unquote news from in this new media space. Think about the research they actually really did. And look at some of their biggest stories and ask yourself a question. Did they do everything they could have done to make that story a good story, a thorough story, not just for entertainment? When you're dealing with people's personal lives, or you're dealing with celebrities for that matter, it's more important for at least me and obviously my colleagues to get the information right, because this stuff is memorialized and people will tend to research it, and they'll, it's no different than, and I'll use the Bible for example. There are different stories in the Bible that have been researched and searched, and people have did all kinds of traveling around the world to try to research these stories. But at the end of the day, there must be work done on it. And if anyone is really understand where I'm getting at with this, you will know that the stuff that we do as journalists, because we're talking about journalists, these are journalists here. The things that we do as journalists requires a lot of hard work. And if we are interested in getting the story right, then that's the work. That's what we have to do. This is what we signed up for. Now, you look at on the other side of this, you have people that will sit behind a desk, table, their mama's basement, and just, just repurpose other stories, not even repurpose stories, regurgitate stories that they hadn't actually really did any work on. they'll tell the story like they actually did the story, but really they haven't really did the story, and they really haven't checked sources. I've literally watched people read verbatim of reports that other people have done and use it as the context or the content to their stories. And I just think it's just so it's just lazy. In my opinion, it's just lazy. But anyway, if you guys understand where I'm going with this, I know there's only a few people watching right now because I didn't tweet it. I was trying out a new microphone. I want to use this clip as a grab to bring more people on. But if you get where I'm going with, put a one in the chat. If you get where I'm going at with this, put a one in the chat and chat, and then let's do a roll call. Who's actually out there? I see 3 people here now. Who's those 3 people? Is Who Next still there? 'Cause I see you were there earlier. Are you still there? Who Next? Just do a roll call here. I'm about to go on the other side. I'm going to the other channel, and we're going to do this again. Sir Miguel. All right, that's what's going on. That's what's going on. I see you. I see you. But we actually gonna go. We're gonna go live on the other channel, Hip Hop Inquirer. I just wanted to come on here on this side to try the mic. I just bought this mic this evening. Shout out to Guitar Center. I don't know. It sounds good. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll go on the other side. But I just used this particular video because I thought it was very important. You know, it's timeless for the most part. It's timeless. So we'll be back on Hip Hop Inquirer because right now you're on Dennis Byron's show page, but we're going to Hip Hop Inquirer and we're going to tweet it out and we're going to have a conversation going on. So guys, I will be back live on Hip Hop Inquirer shortly. I'm out late working. We might put a little music on. I don't know. Well, we can't do too much over there, but we can do that on the other platforms. But I appreciate you guys coming in, and we may play the video on the other side. But for the most part, see you in a few minutes. Peace and love. I'm out.